we had a cross burned on our front lawn. And when I was 5 years old, and watching my parents' reaction to that, instead of tucking in and hiding in and keeping the blinds shut and not being a part of the community, my folks went out and had a barbecue right where that cross was burned in the front yard, and invited a colorful group of friends over.
Wow.
All shapes and sizes, and you name it, and really showed the community that they were there to stay, and their love is as valid as everybody else's.
Y'all, welcome back to Jess Klein's Big Table. I am recording this intro on Monday, November 4th, and I just want to acknowledge we're sitting in a lot of uncertainty right now, but I'm really glad to be able to say that my guest today is someone who I feel is really a light and has really a sense of the long game in terms of moving towards social justice and centers compassion no matter what. It was incredible to have this conversation with him. So let me tell you who it is. In 2023, Chris Pierce was handpicked to be the special guest opener for the Neil Young Coastal Tour. He recently gained additional worldwide prominence with We Can Always Come Back to This. His hit song aired on 3 episodes of the #1 NBC primetime series This Is Us, and then went on to #1 on the Billboard Blues Chart. Pierce has also done worldwide headlining tours and has performed with Neil Young, B.B. King, Steve Earle, Seal, Al Green, Allison Russell, Ramblin Jack Elliot, Rodrigo y Gabriella, Jill Scott, Keb'Mo, Blind Boys of Alabama, Aaron Neville, and others. Wow. Okay. His 2021 album, American Silence, which is, it's an incredible album, garnered critical acclaim from NPR, Rolling Stone, NoDepression, SiriusXM, The Bluegrass Situation, AmericanaUK, Acoustic Guitar, and others. PopMatters named American Silence the #1 best folk album of 2021, and FolkAlley named Residential School from American Silence one of the 100 essential folk songs. At a young age, Pierce developed a rare hearing disorder called otosclerosis that led to the loss of hearing in one ear and partial deafness in the other, a setback that would defer many young musicians forever. The reality, however, fueled Chris's passion and determination all the more, forcing him to relearn almost everything he had known prior to his condition. To Chris, music was and still is an unconditional companion. His highly anticipated album titled Let All Who Will, also gorgeous, please go get it, was released in September 2023 with critical acclaim from NPR, NoDepression, American Songwriter, High Times, and more. In addition to his solo career, Chris performs and records with Americana folk soul sensation War and Pierce with Sunny War, the music of CSNY band Our House, the Americana roots band Leon Creek, and does occasional appearances with the Black Opry Review. One thing that really struck me throughout this conversation was just Chris really embodies compassion. So it feels like a good time for you to hear from him. And it certainly was just such a joy for me to speak with him. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Okay. Chris, I feel like we've been through something together now. We did some technological stuff together.
Yeah, it's for me. It's when these kind of things happen. It's all like the energy. Some reason, it's supposed to happen at this moment, right now.
That's right.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. And thank you for your patience while we figured out how to make this work today. I just want you to know that I'm just a huge fan of you and your work, and I'm really grateful for you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you for doing what you do and making sure that voices like mine are heard and voices of so many others, and taking the time to actually do something about it and to take action. which is really wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. I would love to start. I guess I would just love to start by asking you a little bit about your background growing up, your cultural background, and how you feel that informed who you are and the work that you do.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to let you know quickly that you're frozen on my end. That's okay, right?
It's okay. Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I come from a very diverse background. My parents met at Michigan State, and my father from Florida, my mother from Michigan, and moved out to California, where I live now, where I've been all my life, at a time when they felt it would be safe for them to do that as an interracial couple. My father he passed 25 years ago. He was of West African descent, like Mali, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Cameroon, Ghana, all that kind of area. And also had some indigenous background, like Gullah Geechee, Black Seminole kind of background. My mother, pretty much like Danish, German, Eastern European. And they came together at a time where, and moved to California at a time where they felt like they would be the most, their love would be the most accepted, and their union would be. It was, but it was and it wasn't at the time, and they went through a lot of struggles with acceptance. And then I was born a few years later, and there were a lot of things that happened that I observed as far as bigotry went, and non-acceptance that I grew up. That really, the thing that really I think shaped me and what made me want to do what I do and speak out and sing out and write is watching my parents and the way they handled these situations. With grace and dignity and respect for themselves and respect for people around them. And so that really, not only my ancestry, but observing my parents and observing them really fight for the love they had and navigate it in a way that I really deeply respect, really shaped who I am.
That's so beautiful. I'm finding like a lot of the folks that I speak to who are doing activism, they saw their parents do a piece of that. You know, I think that's really interesting, and I certainly did as well with my mom. How did music become, your way of speaking up and speaking for yourself and speaking for social justice?
Well, I think that, by observing my parents and relatives and their friends, observing the way the room changed when I was young, how music could change a moment, reshape the energy and the soulfulness of a situation, really, I guess, sparked my curiosity and made me want to dig deeper. For me, it was almost like music was magic. It was my eyes would open and I'd go, "Wow, look what music did," and that really made me want to be a part of that magic that is music and soulfulness that it is, and the power that it is. It's such a powerful thing and such a powerful gift and such a beautiful gift. So I think really my parents' vinyl record collection, watching them choose records and me eventually picking records and feeling how my body and spirit would change as a record would come on, a Aretha Franklin record, and then a John Coltrane record, and then a Joan Baez record, and just really feeling how emotional music is, and observing that really made me want to explore it on my own.
Yeah. I like that you put it that way because it is such a visceral experience. And even as a musician myself, I feel like, especially these days, it can be so easy to get caught up in so many things that are not, they're just so up here,
Yeah.
and to be able to be brought back into your body and your heart.
Yeah.
It's such a gift. I know you talked about this before, but I'm still kind of fascinated by. So you were given a diagnosis of a rare hearing disorder at a young age, and I think it's fascinating to me that you have found a way to be such an incredible musician with that. Like, how does that influence how you experience or create music?
Yeah, that was such a shock when that happened. I was diagnosed with something called otosclerosis, and it's a rare hereditary hearing disorder. And I mean, my soul was shaken and in crisis because I was already in love with the magic and the power that was music. It really felt equivalent to like losing a loved one. And
Wow.
And so at the time, really all I could do was dream and really just depend on my imagination of what it would be like to hear again. And so that's what I did. I kept loving it and kept dreaming about it. And eventually I was able to have a surgery where I was able to regain some of my hearing in my right ear. And then the question came, well, will I be able to do what I love with partial hearing in one ear and no hearing in the other? And so that to me was a very important moment. And it's really a moment that I think about every time that I'm sit down to write a song, every time I'm able to perform live. And that is that I chose to fight for what I love when I was young. And so every time I have am blessed with the opportunity to do that, it's just, it makes it even that much more meaningful to me. And that's, it's basically, it was a challenging but exciting choice. And it remains to be a challenging and exciting choice. I fight for my voice every single day. I have all kinds of issues regarding my hearing and things that happen, and tinnitus and ringing in my ears, and I have to really. It really shapes what I do every day in protecting myself to make sure that I can keep singing, even at 51. And this happened when I was 15 years old. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That you, I'm just another, you just strike me as someone who is like just very deeply committed to what you care about. And I mean, that just seems like another example to me of that.
Well, thank you. I mean, music's already such a vulnerable place, right? It's like we have to get to this place of openness, and the being hard of hearing, deaf, whatever you want to call it, really just adds to the vulnerability, I think, and really to me is almost like I always refer to it as a superpower and an ability instead of a disability, because I'm really able to. It forces me to dig way deep inside myself, to hear things, to feel things, to connect. I'm thankful for the gift. I'm thankful for all gifts that I'm given, and I feel like this is a unique way to really realize how much I love music and want to do it. And so I'm with that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also kind of hear like there's a lot of, to me, I hear like a lot of, there's like an act of faith in that you're gonna like, it's gonna, that when I hear that you are so committed to something that is not that easy, like it, you know, in some sense, it feels like a higher, like sort of a higher calling.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, it's a relationship. You know, it really is. Yeah, and it keeps me humbled, and it keeps me just being what I think we should all be as a lifelong students of music and human expression and sound, and keep finding different ways to connect with each other. Instead of just getting to a place where it's like, oh, I know I can connect in that way, and so that's what I'm going to do every time. You know, just kind of, it keeps me rediscovering different ways to connect.
That seems like so important, especially, you know, you mentioned being 51. It's like, I think that getting to this point in your career, and I mean, you've had like an incredible career, but it's so important. I'm also 51, so it's like, yeah.
You're the ox.
Yes, we are oxen.
Yes.
We are
yeah.
Strong like ox. I think it's so important to keep finding new inspiration. You know, it's not the kind of, that's like the beauty of it, and it also feels necessary because it's not the kind of thing you can just sort of like phone in and actually, I don't know, enjoy, or I don't know.
Yeah, and it's, you know, the fact that we're able to do what we're doing. Music is so sacred. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing to remember. And I think that really can guide you into finding the most vulnerable place you can be when you do it, and finding your own power in that, you know, and sharing that. Yeah.
Do you feel like, so you've mentioned vulnerability a number of times, and I'm wondering, I don't know, I have so many, my brain is going in a million different, I'll try and form it into one question, but, how did you begin to find that connection between vulnerability and power, like your vulnerability being a source of power or connection? How did you figure that out?
Well, I think it really probably goes back to what we were talking about before with my parents, and observing that, observing them, and observing them finding power in their love and relationship with their actions and how they handled things. You know, we had a cross burned on our front lawn, and when I was 5 years old, and watching my parents' reaction to that, instead of tucking in and hiding in and keeping the blinds shut and you know, not being a part of the community, my folks went out and had a barbecue right where that cross was burned in the front yard, and invited a colorful group of friends over. All shapes and sizes, and you name it, and and really showed the community that they were there to stay, and their love is as valid as everybody else's. And so I find that every time I write a song, I'm feeling like I'm having that barbecue in the front yard. I'm able to really, you know, let people know that I'm here. I have something to say. I have a unique experience, and really, my opinion is as valid as yours. And so let's have a conversation. Let's try to use this song as a way towards civil discourse and find a way to find more understanding. And it's a way of finding truth and a way to bring us all together. And I feel like with that comes, the resilience, and your resilience will remind other people of their resilience. And with that comes empowerment. So I feel like it's really, it all started with watching my folks and watching them bring the community together in a way that, kind of a fearless way, a fearless love,
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm not surprised. I mean, your folks sound incredible, so I'm not surprised.
They are. Yeah. My dad was an incredible person, and my mother's still around. And every time we get to talk or get together, it's just it reminds me of, what a powerful, powerful woman she is, and who I come from.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see. Okay. So I did I listened to a bunch of your other interviews and read a bunch of interviews of you in preparation for this. Of course. I like to, be prepared. But so I watched the SoCal Sound Sessions on YouTube, and you had said you described yourself as just one example of somebody who's taking the experiences, personal and collective, and putting them into something creative that can hopefully make change. That's all I'm really hoping to do. And I thought that was such a beautiful synthesis of how creativity and social change go hand in hand. I'm wondering if you would talk a little bit. I mean, I guess you've touched on this in certain ways already, but in terms of your songwriting process, maybe a more direct question is how do you keep compassion centered in your art, because it would be so easy to lose it. And I had read somewhere else that you said I believe that compassion is the only way forward. I fight with compassion, I sing with compassion.
Yeah.
How do you keep that?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I'd say, not to be too preachy about it, but I deeply believe in the unifying power of music, and it really sums it up. That's where the inspiration comes from. I mean, since the beginning of time, humanity is created ways to be cruel to each other. And, after we leave this planet, there'll still be people in groups that are finding ways to control others. And so there needs to be a balance. And that balance, really a huge part of it to me is artists and the way we express ourselves, and the love that we share, and the compassion, and the empathy. Because for me, it's an important part of the balance of humanity, and I just want to leave something behind that is historical evidence of somebody that was putting out their truths, and maybe that will be studied someday, and maybe that will lead folks to finding more ways to compassion and empathy. I don't expect anybody or everybody to agree with me. I just hope that some folks will give my music a listen and consider some of the things I'm saying and apply that to their own lives. That knowledge of another human being and their experiences and the way they look at things. Does that kind of answer? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it does.
Yeah. I mean, compassion is the only way forward as far as I'm concerned. That, to me, that's it. it's compassion.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I have this also may be a like roundabout way of asking a question, but I'm just gonna. Is it all right if I read a little bit of the lyric of Tulsa Town, your song Tulsa Town? Okay. So the opening verse says, "They came from just a mile away, from just across the town today, and look at what they've got to say here in Tulsa Town." So hearing your song, and I knew some about the Tulsa Massacre from seeing Watchmen. That's where I learned about it the first time. But reading more about it and other incidents like that of racist violence, this opening line in particular, it's like, to me, it's talking about like the intimacy. To me, there's like an intimacy in this violence of like the people only came from a mile away. Like, that struck me that even though it was segregated, like some of these people might have known each other. And I was just, do you feel like because music is also like an intimate and personal experience, is that why it has that magic power to affect people and open someone's heart in a way that perhaps a newspaper article is not going to? Do you know what I'm?
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, that song, of course, is from the perspective of a man who's being hung, and for me, the lyrics not only show like a really distinct, blistering eye of the imagery, but they also really show how his compassion towards the people that were doing this to him. And to me, that was an important part of that song, and it's also an important part of every song that I write, that there's an element of a demonstration of compassion. I mean, even though I picked some really tough things to write about, I really want to show that even, for example, when I was 19 years old, I was, arrested and treated unfairly and really harshly by some police people. In my heart, I have compassion for the people that did that, because how difficult would it be to live in their body and their spirit and to be doing that to people? I mean, what kind of life is that? And I think that, with Tulsa Town, the people of the Greenwood district and the black people there that were excelling and building black businesses and really making a place for themselves that they felt safe and that they could really prosper, and having that happen. I think that it's important to also say that this was happening to people that knew how to find a place of compassion and empathy for others, because this was not the first thing that had ever happened, and they still found a way to build that community, and they still had a way of seeing some optimism in life, even after this was probably one or two generations after their ancestors, my ancestors, were brought here as slaves. So it's to show that empathy, that empathy is where, and compassion is where we can find the power to find community and to not hide out. Just like I was talking about my parents, and to reach out. And so that's a very complicated answer to a very complicated question.
Yeah.
But I could go on and on about it. But just to answer it quickly, just in one sentence, I think it's important to show compassion in every single song, whether it's a love song or a celebration song or a song or a murder ballad. I think that it's compassion should always find its way.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for dealing with sort of a complicated.
Oh, no. That's why I'm here. It's great. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. So let's see. Are there any perhaps your parents, because you've spoken so powerfully about them. Are there any other ancestors or inspirations that you call on for courage when you're speaking up?
Well, I mean, the list, how much time do you have? Yes, there are. I mean, I really always, for me, I always gravitate to music and musicians. But with that said, John Lewis has had a really profound effect on me. I even wrote a song when he passed called "The Bridge of John," basically reminding people that the offer to walk with him still remains, even though he's not physically here. So, yes, people like John Lewis, all the freedom fighters and folks that we owe so much to, shoulders we stand on. As far as music goes, people like Odetta, people that really broke boundaries. Harry Belafonte is somebody who I think about and call on for inspiration. Charlie Patton, Richie Havens, Rosetta Tharpe, folks that really, really pushed and broke a lot of barriers. Those are the folks that really inspire me. And yeah, I could, the list goes on and on. I have certain teachers that, both in school and just life teachers, that I really, spiritually call on. Every time I write or get on stage, I think about what have I been taught? And I should apply those lessons and really share them because it's part of who I am. Yeah. Everything from stuff in classrooms to being at sweat lodge ceremonies and different things in life. So many lessons. I've had a very colorful life, and I've been fortunate enough to really be accepted into a lot of different circles of really expressive people. Yeah, who have shared a lot with me. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's see. Would you share a little bit with listeners about your recent tours? I know that you were opening for Neil Young, and how did that come about, and how did that feel for you as an artist?
Yeah, I've had the really, I think it's probably a unique career that I've gotten to ride on the wings of like these bigger birds that have been some of my heroes, and people like Seal, people like B.B. King. I've gotten to do shows with Al Green, Aaron Neville, a lot of the older kind of the soul guard,
Yeah.
And then getting the call last year and getting word that Neil Young was interested in me opening for his solo tour was just, it was outrageous. I almost hung up the phone. I thought it was a prank. I thought it was a prank call. I did. I was like, "Who is this?" And
Wow.
it was an honor of honors, and to do that tour and to even be asked. This is somebody who could have called anybody, and he called me, or his representative called me, and so really, I had to think about, okay, what kind of conversation and what's the way, the most powerful way I can communicate with people, and really, in the 30 minutes I have, what is the most communicative way to do this, and really more importantly, what will add to the experience that Neil is going to bring during this tour. How can I add something to that? I think for me that was the task, really respecting the fact that I was there to not only play and communicate, but how can I add to this moment? Little sprinkle of something to this, thousands and thousands of people every night that are there to see this incredible legend play these songs that are woven into our lives. And so I really took care in that that task and responsibility. And I did different set lists every single night, depending on how I felt. I'd walk around the communities I was in, I'd meet people, and I usually wouldn't write the set list until about 20 minutes before I'd hit the stage, because I really wanted them to reflect how I was feeling in the moment. And then again, thinking about how can I add to this spectacular moment that is a Neil Young concert. And it worked out really well. The audiences were extremely responsive. Neil was happy. And his crew and people around him were just extremely open and wonderful to me in every way. They treated me like family. So it was just a really beautiful situation.
That's so cool. It's funny you were saying, well, how can I add to this? I'm just thinking, you just by being there, you were being Chris Pierce, you were adding adding you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It was interesting. For me, I wasn't an audience member, of course, but I did think about, why am I here? And Neil said something to me backstage after like the third or fourth show. He said, just keep doing exactly what you're doing. And that to me told me, okay, I'm here because I'm just supposed to be here. I just am supposed to do what I do.
Yeah.
And that is what I do at every show. And that's, the set lists and things like that. That's what I do at every show. I get to the place I'm at, and then I think about the songs. Then I think about the moment. And so that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So organic, like that. That feels like, yeah.
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 So Chris, I know that this year you've been doing a solo tour and also opening for Steve Earle, and I'm wondering, like, how have the shows been feeling this year with such a, so much intensity with the election? Like, how's it been for you?
Well, it's been interesting.
Yeah.
I'm a big sponge, I take in energy, and It's been different. You know, during the pandemic, I feel like there was this yearning for music, and just somebody give me something to feel, you know. And then, kind of post-pandemic, and during, you know, such a political year where we have this really consequential election that I think this will air after the election.
It will. Yeah.
So we're talking after the election, and we don't know the outcome of yet.
Yeah.
I've been really careful out there. I'll say that. And I've really tried to do what I can to take care of my spirit and stay safe and stay healthy. And really, I don't want to say be more guarded, because that's not what I do. It's just really, I think, just be a little more careful in and around shows and people, and just try to really keep my my antennas up, because there's a lot of stuff out there, a lot of energy, and you know, singing songs that really open people up. That's really causes different effects depending on who's listening to the song. So people deal with their emotions after hearing a song in different ways. So I'm aware of that, especially in a year like this.
Yeah. I just want to ask you a couple more questions while I have you. Since you mentioned being careful and taking care of yourself, what are some self-care, what are some ways that you take care of yourself, especially in a time like this?
Yeah. Well, I personally try to practice meditation whenever I can, and make that a daily practice. It doesn't have to be deep meditation, just a moment of stillness and silence, and reflection. I also try to just dim the noise as much as I can. And when I'm writing during a time like this, I try to remember that this is one of the many times that we've had to really fight and really struggle and really try to get it together. And there will be more times. So to really keep in mind that that it's chipping away is what these songs are doing. It's all part of a bigger movement that's going to go beyond like this election. It's going to go beyond this news cycle. We're going to have to wake up on November 6th, no matter what, and keep chipping away. And so I try to keep reminding myself of that. I also drink a lot of water. I try to get enough sleep. I try to stretch. I'm a big guy, so stretching is important. And I try to check in with people that I love and people that I know can calm my spirit, and also people that I know that will inspire me, especially when I'm on the road, because the road can be a lonely place.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Those are, especially appreciate that you talked about it being chipping away and a long, long thing. Yeah, I think a lot about that. And I think about like trying to find, for me, it's like trying to find the humility to know, like, I am just playing whatever part I am playing.
That's right.
Now. And while I'm alive, and that's what I can do. Like,
yeah.
You know,
I think, exactly. I think it's trying to help society change for the better, and also taking a hard look at ourselves and doing what we can to to make ourselves better people, better parts of society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to share with the folks listening? Upcoming shows or stuff you're working on, or just anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'd really love to share that I'm writing for a new album right now that I'm really excited about. I'm going to record it at the beginning of the year with a really incredible producer. I don't know if I'm supposed to say who the producer is yet, but look out for the album.
Okay.
And the producer is also an artist that I really admire. So that's a hint.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm really excited about that. So I don't know when that album will be out. I'm guessing the middle of 2025, maybe summer, fall. Yeah. Maybe a single will come out in the spring or something. But I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a really great part of the upcoming season. And I'm touring all the time, so look out for me, folks. I'm out there. And I think that's about it. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're such a gift, Chris. I feel so blessed. I was sitting here like, I can't believe I get to talk. I saw you perform at FolkAlley a couple years ago, and
I remember meeting you there. I do. Yes. And I remember hearing you. Yes. Yes.
Like
Absolutely.
everyone else in the room, I was just like, tears, streaming down my heart was wide open. The tears were falling. I was just like, wow, you're such a powerful artist. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank
today.
you. And again, thank you for having me and really, creating this platform for us to have these kinds of deep conversations. I think they're important. And I'm really thankful that you see the importance and are making it happen. I know it takes a lot of time and energy to put this kind of thing together. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
But you gotta trust when you're hungry. You gotta trust when you're on your knees. You gotta trust the mystery.
Jess Klein's Big Table is produced by me, Jess Klein, and recorded on the traditional lands of the Lumbee, Chiraw, Catawba, Saponi, Occaneechi, Eno, and Shakori people. If you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you did, please subscribe, please like, and please share it with your people. You can find out more about my upcoming tour dates and musical releases at jessklein.com or on my Substack. Talk to you soon.